Okay, so I'm going to show you your user interface. It's pretty popular in the music community. Pro Tools. You've probably heard that. I mean, I can't imagine using anything else. A lot of people get into programs like Sonar, Cakewalk, just to name a few. GarageBand on Macs comes free with it, but to be honest, I just like Pro Tools a lot better because a lot of the interfaces that hook up with it, as far as Digio2 racks, even M boxes. If you are only doing kind of rap, or this is a metal DVD, so anything basic, just kind of solos. You only need 1 or 2 channels. You can actually buy an M box. It's about that size. It's a couple $100. Comes with the software, but basically it's an interface to connect your computer with your actual tracking. I still see kids ask me why does their music sound so terrible, and what it comes out to is they're trying to track into their basic PC with a 1/4/8 basically headphone jack in the back of their computer. And why it sounds so terrible is because those aren't really those little microphone things are made for headsets, or stuff that's not meant for quality recording. So what Pro Tools does is the interface, M boxes, Digio2s, they basically offer you a way to plug in straight up XLR mic cords, instrument cables, and transfer it into your computer without all that dirty, kind of crappy sound that makes your stuff sound real terrible. You probably already knew this, but that's basically what an interface is. And yeah, I'm fond of Pro Tools, but you can also do things like Fire. You can get Fire ports with generic controllers on the internet. As far as I've seen 8-channel strips where you can track 8 things at once if your computer can handle it, via a $300 interface. But all of those, the majority of those don't actually work with Pro Tools because Pro Tools DigiDesign interfaces work with Pro Tools DigiDesign software. So that's one of the downsides to buying a cheap interface. But here's basically an overview. This is what Pro Tools is. You have different channels as far as you obviously you can start channels. This one right here is a stereo channel. These are mono channels, stuff like that. Right here you got your record enable. Basically you hit record, and enable it. Solo, you can solo up tracks and mute them. I mean, it's basic. You probably mess with a lot of this stuff. So basically up here, you can save it. All those generic, basically generic commands in every program, stuff like that. And once again, I'm giving you this kind of basic just boost to give you a heads up. If you haven't watched our basic Pro Tools training kit, more of this stuff is on there, more in details. It's just kind of a basic little update for you guys. Just brush up on it. So basically here you go. Your Pro Tools sessions. Basically when you start, let's start a new project. I'll just call it Hey Bitch. And I spelled bitch wrong. So, I'm going to start this Hey Bitch program. And, wave 44.1 sample rate. That's basically what you use for CDs. CDs don't burn, higher sample rates. But if you do want to track, if you want to track, in higher sample rates and stuff, it does sound cleaner to an extent, but a lot of it you have to crush, to throw on CDs. So basically I'm just going to do a basic kind of 16-bit 44.1, which is just generic. I usually pop it to 24-bit, but I'm not going to in this circumstance because I'm not tracking anything. So, 16-bit, Hey Bitch file, Pro Tools session. Sure, let's get started here. And yeah, I don't need to save that sample. Okay, so Pro Tools opens up a new thing. Basically here you got nothing. You don't see shit. It's just empty. I've had a lot of people asking me, I have Pro Tools, I don't think it works, I can't track, there's nothing on the screen. Well, there's nothing on the screen because you haven't asked for anything on the screen. So check this out. Basically, you can go to File, or Track, New, add that stuff, click all the stuff, but to be honest, I strongly encourage you to get the quick keys. I actually have quick keys tattooed on my arm, so I don't forget ever to save my files, because I do that every 2 seconds in case something happens. So anyways, I'm going to hit Control-Shift-N. That basically brings up this thing. You got, options, how many channels you want to make. Let's say we're doing an 8-piece drum set, had 8 mics set up on that stuff. I would click 8, 8 mono channels and click that. But today we're not really doing that, so I'm just going to set up one, and show you the difference. Right here you got mono stereo. That really doesn't matter. It's usually mono anyway for independent channels unless you're tracking some kind of stereo pad, which is kind of a pain in the ass. So you also got the option, you know, new audio track, auxiliary, master fader, MIDI, instrument track, you know, and all that stuff. This doesn't really matter too much for what we're doing, so I'm going to create one audio track. Okay, so right here you got one audio track. Now you have two menus basically in Pro Tools, you know, to check out. You have the mix window right here that you're seeing. This is where you can, you know, select plugins for it, like an EQ, something like that. You know, you also got sends. You can send it out of the interface that you have at this time, and then also you can send it through buses. You know, which buses, you know, that's something that's a little more elaborate. So basically, you got one channel set up. We're watching the mix window. So what I'm going to do is hit Control equal. I believe in Macs it's Apple equals. So you hit that, and then you're going to go to this, and this is the edit window. This is where you can do a lot of damage or good by selecting individual waves, stuff like that. You know, moving it around. So now I'm going to go back to my mix window. So we're going to get this channel set up to record something, even though we're not recording anything. I'm just kind of showing you. Right here is what your input is. I have an interface, 8 channels that I'm running off of right now. It's actually a Digi-02. I'm going to get the Digi-03 update here in a second. Yeah, so basically you hit this first thing, and what I would be doing is, dependent upon what I'm plugged into in the back, channel 1 through 8, you know, you select that. Let's say I got my guitar on channel 3. I'm going to set it to channel 3, right? So at this point, we're all set to record. Now all we got to do is hit record, R. And it puts it in, you know, record enable. You're getting a buzz because I got a guitar hooked up, but I'm not playing it. So basically, in a record, now you're here in the channel, so you're set to record. So you can start recording in either window. It depends on what you want to do. So, you know, we'll record the shitty little buzz. Here we go. So what I do is hit F12. You can also hit record button. You can do, there's like 10 record buttons on this shit that you can hit to start recording. So, you know, I'm just going to start it out, F12, and then it starts recording. And you know, once again, if you have 8 channels, you're going to have 8 things starting to move. You got your time signature up here, like how much time's going off. But yeah, I mean, that's the basis of how to start recording. So I'll take it out of record enable, get rid of that annoying shit. So, you know, you got that. Basically, now it's time to mix, edit stuff. Once again, in the mix window, you can change volume, basic stuff, panning, you know, if you need to. So that's an option. But what you want to do is you know, you're going to get into the plugins right here as far as entering EQs, make that kick drum, you know, punch out a little bit, a little reverb, stuff like that. This is where you would enter if you had vocalists and stuff, like a, you know, auto-tune kind of program type stuff. So, you know, that's where you start getting all elaborate. But other than that, that's kind of the basis of how to start recording. You know, when you're done with it, what you would do is, of course, save your file every 2 seconds. You know, I straight up got that tattooed on my arm so I don't forget. Never know when power goes out. But let's say you got your final, you got 8 tracks going around. You know, it's you know, 1:39 seconds long. It's a grindcore song. So you highlight that, and this is basically what you do to get rid of it. So, you know, let's say you're done with all your mixes, you're ready to go. You select that, you know, 1:42 long grindcore clip. You go to File, Bounce to Disk, and that's where you get these options. And this is the last thing you have to do to get, you know, a final mix out of Pro Tools as far as, you know, all that stuff. So basically, you're going to bounce source. Mine's 1 and 2. That's basically the channels that feed my speakers. You know, wave, I always choose unless you're trying to get all complex, the MP3s and stuff. Wave is by far more, you know, clean. The size is huge compared to MP3s. MP3s is basically a smash version. So if you're trying to go for clarity, if you're bouncing stuff for CD, album, you're going to want to bounce in wave, you know, or AIFF, but all this other stuff's really garbage. It's used for other stuff as far as video or internet-based kind of advertisement. So very important here is what you want to do is you always want to have your format as stereo interleaved. You can do mono or multiple mono, but that's not going to be your finalized thing unless you're trying to, you know, bounce individual files just as mono tracks to mix in another program. You could bounce as mono, but you know, what you want to do for the final product is stereo interleaved. So I got that selected. You know, resolution 16-bit, and this is, once again, this is basically a track I would be getting ready for you know, CD kind of thing. So 16, 44:1, you know, that's a basic CD kind of format. convert after bounce, and then I would hit bounce, and then of course you save it. So I would save, final album song 1, something like that. Name it, you would save it, and it would start bouncing. So basically, that's how you start a session, that's how you open stuff, and that's how you bounce a final. So that'll give you enough info if you don't already know about Pro Tools. Kind of give you a little basic overview of what you need to do, to set up a session and get rolling with this program.